What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Daniel, and welcome back to another video. We got a few NASCAR stories to go over today. Let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. So, we are going to first talk about COVID-19 fines coming out. Yes, NASCAR is going to become very, very strict when it comes to the COVID-19 fines. And if you do not pass these fines, if you don't follow the guidelines that NASCAR's put out on Wednesday's bulletin, you're going to get fined. So, in the Cup Series, you're going to get a $10,000 to fit between $10,000 and $50,000 on your fines. In the Xfinity Series, it's going to be $5,000 to $25,000. And in the Truck Series, it's going to be $2,500 to $12,500. Now, it makes sense. I get it that they're going to be fining people. Now, here's the thing. I don't think anyone's really not going to fall. I think most people are going to agree. They're not going to try to pull some BS on it. I think most people will try to comply with this because that's a lot of money, especially to get fined for something like this. They have to practice social distancing rules. I totally get that. But this is interesting that they're going to start fining people some pretty hefty numbers. You know, I was expecting maybe $10,000 at the most for the Cup Series, like maybe $1,000. $50,000, though, could be the biggest fine if you don't follow the guidelines they post on the bulletin. Man, it's crazy how much they're going to try to fine you. That's insane to me because that's a lot of money, you know, going into this. And for you not following the social distancing rules, it's a lot. But I understand why they're trying to have them follow, because NASCAR's trying to make sure that no one ends up getting sick with this thing, so that you possibly don't send any team members home, especially people that might have been in contact, even though they might not end up getting it, so you don't send people home and possibly don't send the whole team home when you're trying to race for the weekend, because it could affect the championship if someone ends up getting sick, and you don't want that to possibly happen. So I completely understand why these fines are a thing. It just sucks it's that much. That's a lot of money, not gonna lie. Now we get into the next story, and unfortunately another sad kind of story. We're going to have to talk about layoffs. Yes, according to Adam Stern, yesterday, NASCAR today is going through a second wave of employee layoffs as sanctioning body continues to streamline its structure due to the IC merger and the coronavirus pandemic. NASCAR limited 69 jobs during the first round in April, and the tally may be higher today. So as you heard there, basically they're laying off a lot more people than they originally did. The reason the first layoffs took place were because they were merging a bunch of jobs that were in ISC over to NASCAR. You didn't want to have two entities and have people like filling up jobs and filling up space as much as they were, because they didn't need as many people as they did. But to hear that they're laying off a lot more people with the COVID virus, that really sucks. I do hope these people that are in this end up finding jobs at different locations in the NASCAR community. I'm talking about in like teams like Chip Ganassi, or I just hope in general they end up finding jobs, because they might be able to come back. Who knows? But we'll have to see if that does happen. It does suck that people are going to be laid off and do lose their jobs, but it just sucks. But it is what it is, and hopefully these people can end up finding their jobs very, very soon. Speaking of layoffs, we're going to talk about Chicagoland as well. Chicagoland was among one of the tracks that got hit hard yesterday with layoffs, and an article out of Joliet says the track may end up losing its NASCAR race this year. With Illinois still on lockdown and no end in sight, those dates are probably out. This is according to Adam Stern. I'm not surprised if Chicagoland ends up losing a race. You know who runs the state? J.B. Pritzker. And J.B. Pritzker has been very, very, very strict when it comes to the COVID-19 laws. That's why I said I don't think it was yesterday's episode, but 2 episodes ago, I stated that there's probably not going to be a race this year at Chicagoland, one of the tracks of my 3 that are going to end up losing, just because Illinois is one of the strictest states when it comes to the COVID-19 virus. It's probably not going to end up happening this year. I do feel bad for Chicago, because I think Chicagoland puts on a really good show every year, because I think the racing has been so good over the last years. It used to be a lackluster racetrack, but over the last couple years, I think the race in general has gotten a lot better. But because of this whole situation with COVID and with how crazy J.B. Pritzker has been, I'm not completely surprised that there's not going to probably be a race at Chicagoland this year, which is a really great shame because the the facility's not that great, but they're supposed to be starting to upgrade stuff. And like I said, I do feel bad for the people that are in the Chicago, Illinois area, in the Chicago area, but it's probably gonna unfortunately happen. It sucks. Believe me, I know. Now we get into the next story. We're going to talk about the NASCAR Pro Invitational Race. We have two new faces making their debut. Martin Truex Jr. is finally going to race in this event. And someone who I remember from back in the day, from like the 2005 to 2008 area, John Wood. Yes, John Wood is going to be making his Pro Invitational debut. Also, Jeff Gordon will also be racing in this event as well. So that's really cool to see those three guys that are going to be in the event. But do you notice how low the entry list is for this week? Well, all the Hendrick drivers besides Jeff Gordon and all three Penske drivers, along with Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, and Matt DiBenedetto, are not going to be involved in this event. Now, I think the reason and that's interesting, because William Byron isn't in this event as well. He's been the best driver in the Pro Invitational Series. I don't think this is going to be counting toward the Pro Invitational Series. I think it's just like an exhibition event toward us. I think the Pro Invitational ended last week. I think it didn't say that. But I think the Pro Invitational ended last week. But really cool, you got Mark Truex Jr., John Wood Racing. Now, I'm surprised there's a lot less people running this event because it's North Wilkesboro. It's the last race in this Pro Invitational before we do go back racing next Sunday at 2:30 Eastern. I think that's going to be really exciting. Not 2:30 Eastern, 3:30 Eastern. I'm kind of surprised that less people are running this event. I thought like we'd have more people running this event than ever. But to see that only 28 drivers are on the roster is crazy. But I think the reason there are less people on the roster for the North Wilkesboro race, I think, is because because a lot of them are focused on Darlington. I think they're trying to focus on getting ready for Darlington and focus on that and getting some seat time in like a simulator, because they can transfer what they get from a simulator, the simulator of iRacing like NR 2003, over to the actual stock car. But I'm surprised, especially William Byron. I'm surprised some of these guys who have never raced like an event at North Wilkesboro, especially since I think this will be the first official race that they're running at North Wilkesboro, probably the first time they've ran on the iRacing event, which the track is based on the 1987 circuit. So like I said, I'm surprised, but I think they're just focused on trying to get back to normal racing at this point. And now we get into the final story. We are going to talk about IndyCar. Yes, the IndyCar series is going to return on June 6th at Texas Motor Speedway. It is going to be a 14-race schedule, it looks like, with some races around there, like 14-race schedule. I think that's respectable. Now, there was a rumor at one point that they were going to run a NASCAR IndyCar doubleheader. Unfortunately, that is not going to happen. Eddie Gossage came out today and said that it is not going to happen this year, a IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader, which sucks, but Texas Motor Speedway isn't great anyways. But yes, to hear the announcement that IndyCar is going to be back ready to go racing in about a month from now is really, really, really exciting. I've missed my IndyCar. I miss racing in general. I'm just excited for racing to come back in general. The only series as of right now, I'm not sure, that has made their announcement return is Formula One, but it looks like they might be returning at some point in July in like France, I think. I can't remember where. No, France got postponed or canceled, I think. I think they're planning on returning in July with like a bunch of double headers. I think they're running like even some of those events later in the year. But to know that IndyCar is finally going to be back racing, I'm so excited. I've missed IndyCar, man. I became a much bigger IndyCar fan over the last 2 years, and it's my second favorite motorsport behind NASCAR, of course. But IndyCar has grown on me over the last few years. I've been watching it since about 2014, 2015. Before they became like a major fan, I watched like the Indy 500 and stuff. But to know that we're going to be returning to NASCAR racing at Texas Motor Speedway, and I just think IndyCar has a lot of good racing in Texas. I wish we were running the mile-and-a-half configuration we used to, and not running at the crap Texas Motor Speedway that we are running currently at the moment. But to know at least we're going to be back to racing, I don't care what track it is at this point for IndyCar. I'm just glad we are returning. I wouldn't have cared if it had been Pocono. I wouldn't have cared if it had been like Gateway. At this point, I'm just really, really excited that we are going to be returning to NASCAR racing, and I'm just glad that racing is going to be back in IndyCar. You know, we got now 2 of our 3 series, and I'm just excited right now to go racing. I think IndyCar will put on a really, really good show. IndyCar, pretty much a lot of places where you go, they put on a really good show. Sometimes even better than NASCAR, even though I have to say so far NASCAR 2020, before the pandemic, has some of the best racing I have ever seen. The first 4 races had been the best start, in my opinion, since the 2014 season. That's just my opinion on that. So yeah, those are some of the stories I wanted to discuss with you guys today. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Turn notifications on so you can be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Links in the description below for that. And comment below your thoughts on today's video. Do you think Chicagoland is not going to have a race this year? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of the COVID-19 fines? Let me know in the comments below. And anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. And I will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.